Right, so the next thing I want to bring to your attention is placement of where you put the function is very important. In the video so far, you see that I've put this function above where the int main begins. I did not put it in, let me just make sure, Control X. I want to make sure you know that you do not put it here inside of the opening and closing curly braces of the main. So far, I've had it up above. Now, you can move it, and I'm going to Control X and move it down below the main. So here's the open and close curly braces of the main, and I'm going to move it down here. Now, you'll find everything looks okay. It doesn't look like I've got any errors. I don't have any red squiggly marks, so I'm going to run it, and let's see what happens. And so I'm waiting for it to run, but I got a build error. And so why did I get a build error? And it says, let me look at the error. It's saying greeting identifier not found on line 14. So if I look on 14, the program can't find greeting. Well, it found it earlier. What's the problem? Well, in C#, no wait, this is C++. In C++, the compiler is going to go exactly in order. So in other words, the compiler read int main, and it did all of this. And then it says, wait a minute, I don't have a greeting. I know nothing about greeting. Remember before when we had greeting up above, then the compiler had found greeting. And so when we got to greeting, the compiler has already stored it in memory. But if we put it after the main down here, then the compiler doesn't know. When it reads it and it gets to greeting, it says, I don't know anything about a greeting because the greeting is after the main. So you can do this, but you have to tell the compiler about it before it hits the main. In other words, if you're going to put your functions after the main, I'm going to highlight just this first line. So before we have the open and curly brace, I'm going to highlight that and Control Copy and put it above the main and then put a semicolon. And so the idea here is we're telling the compiler about the greeting. We're letting it know that, hey, take my word for it. There is a function down below called greeting. And so when you get here, I've already let you know that it's there, so it'll know where to find it. So I know that seems kind of strange, but that's how it needs to work. So I'll just prove it so you don't have to take my word for it. Now that I have this, what we call the function signature, which is the very beginning part of the function before the curly brace. Now if I run this, make sure you put the semicolon afterwards. You don't have a semicolon here, just here. Wait, just here. So pay attention to that. So let me run this now and let's see if it works. And so now it runs and I can see that everything worked well. So if you're going to put your function after the main, that's perfectly fine. You just have to make sure you put this, what we call the signature of the function, which is this very first line, and then follow it with a semicolon. And then you can put your functions afterwards. Or you can, on the other end of that scale, just put them all below the main. So whichever you prefer. But that's, if you get an error that the identifier can't be found, that's why.